All right. Well, welcome to No Stars TV. I am one of your co-hosts, Nelson Flores.
I'm David Rice. Hello.
Hello. And today at No Stars TV is where we talk about more about the how more than the who. And today we have John Law with us, producer, director, and writer of The Hatred that is playing on Amazon right now. Hi, John. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, you guys. Really cool to be on No Stars.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about the movie, The Hatred? So he's the movie director of The Hatred. So give us a little bit of background what the movie's about, I guess, not giving too much away.
Okay, well, I mean, first of all, I think it's important to say I make movies with my family, who is, I have two daughters and my wife, Toby. And right before The Hatred, we had made 3 movies together. And none of them were horror movies, but I was really interested in making a horror movie. I love horror movies, and I love the artistic freedom that you seem to get when you make horror movies. You're like, the audience allows so much artistic freedom, you know, and they want new things, and they're hungry for new content. And so I wanted to make a horror movie, and at that time, my wife was really wrapped up in writing a screenplay, so she was kind of too busy. And so my youngest daughter, Zelda, wanted to make a horror movie too. So she and I set out on this journey together to make this movie. And it was just a joy to make. It was so fun. We learned so many things. And, you know, it mostly proved that the horror genre is just a wonderful medium to create in.
And is she there with you right now?
Well, she is in the house. So if you guys want to talk to her, I'll call her up.
Is she who helped us last night?
Yeah, she can't kill us if she comes on. She can't try to kill us. Hey, can
well,
we?
I can't tell her what to do. She will do whatever if she slays you, that's your problem.
Fair enough. Can we roll the trailer for the Hatred, Chris?
Yeah. Let's check out the trailer. So what does that trailer tell us, John?
That trailer tells me that I almost died walking naked in the snow because everything freaking froze.
You know, that's one of the things I want to talk to you about. Since you already brought it up, let's just jump right into that real quick then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no.
You did that by yourself. Did you do that all by yourself, though?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Did you end up shooting that by yourself alone?
Yes, I did. And it was funny because, you know, we had a great winter that year. So we had tons of snow. And I wanted to do kind of a dream sequence shot. And I love a movie called The Proposition. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a movie called The Proposition, but that was a big influence on me. And so I thought, hey, you know what would be good, like a dream sequence where, you know, you're naked in your dream and you're suicidal. And so I thought, I set up the tripod. I had all my clothes on. I hiked up behind a tree, took off my clothes, and started walking towards the camera. And I got so cold so fast. By halfway there, I couldn't feel my feet anymore. And I literally just made it home from shooting that, because I did film it all by myself. There was no one there. And once I had all my clothes off, my hands and my feet got so cold I couldn't get my clothes back on. Like, I couldn't feel my hands anymore after I got that shot and turned off the camera. So it was a fun day. It taught me a lot. It taught me that you know, you don't want to get caught in the snow naked, for sure.
Well, that was one of the things that Nelson and I talked about was cinematically, the staff here at No Stars was talking about the snow. And I read an interview you did, and in it, you were told not to shoot in the snow because, the light, and it's very bright, and lenses and God knows what else. But yet you said in the interview, you still went ahead. So, so what were the challenges of shooting in the snow, other than, of course, being very cold?
Yeah, I've been told so many times, never shoot in the snow. That's filmmaker's worst nightmare. Basically, yeah, because of the light and also because of equipment freezing up and how difficult it is. But since we were just a crew of two, me and my daughter, that helped us because we didn't have to worry about a lot of people. We just had to worry about each other. And we found that shooting in the snow was ideal for what we wanted to do. We wanted a real minimal look, and we wanted a real high contrast, light and dark feel to the movie because, we're talking about something like hatred. So it's, we really wanted that clear message. We didn't want a gray area. We wanted black and white. And so we found that shooting in the snow was really, really fun. You have to get things done very fast. But like I said, we had a beautiful, hard winter that year. So we could just shoot for an hour. And when we were super cold, we'd go back inside, warm up, and we could just go back out and continue. It's the nice thing about working as a family is you really don't have to worry about a crew. You just go to your house, re-energize, and head back out.
So location-wise, you shot this like at your house?
Yeah, we shot a lot of it around our property. We live in the Catskill Mountains of New York, which are very rough looking and super stark. And we get great winters. We have a great weather. And so, yeah, it was all shot around here and on state land. We're backed up against state land. And so, we have hundreds of acres of forest that's ours.
Wow.
And actually,
that's
in our
pretty
county,
amazing.
it is amazing. And in our county, you don't even have to have a permit to shoot on state land, in county land. So, so many advantages for us, but we wouldn't need a permit anyway because there's just two of us.
So the crew was two people and then the actors.
Yeah. So the actors I brought in, Zelda and I shot everything that we could. And so we could edit the story and look at it. And then we brought in the actors over 3 days and shot everything with the actors in 3 days. We had them all come up and stay at our house and at my parents' house. And we just shot everything in 3 days. Yeah, it was fun.
That is amazing. That is really, really cool. What was your budget? What did your budget end up being? If you don't mind me asking.
I don't mind you asking. It was $2,000.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Because another thing that I did read is that you didn't use any lighting either. You just used all natural light.
One of the things we learned really early on when we started making films was that all your disadvantages can become your advantages, and the more you use your disadvantages as your advantage, the quicker you work and the better I think you become at being a filmmaker. And so we could never afford lights, and plus we didn't have someone who was going to be setting up lights for us. So from our very first film, we always used available light. And as time went on, we learned how wonderful and beautiful available light is, and how it really sets the tone and the theme for the movies that we make.
So seriously, if Zelda's there, please have her join us, because I mean, she's just as much a director and crew as you are. I mean, that's amazing
sure
to
is.
know that two of y'all did this.
Hey, Zelda, they want to talk to you. Come on up.
Yeah, and when we get a chance, I want to talk about the screenplay also, because you just mentioned that the disadvantages, right? But you had all that land, you had committed crew, and your wife's a screenwriter. And so when you would sit down to write the screenplay and all the scenes to map out, that's a lot of planning. To make this budget work for you and the locations work for you, your script has to be tight.
And did Zelda help write this as well?
Here's my great friend and daughter, Zelda.
Hello, Zelda. We're talking to John about how y'all made this. Like both y'all made this movie by yourselves. That's amazing to hear. What was that experience like for you? I mean, that's amazing. I mean, I have kids that I have a production company. I have cameras. I take a camera home, and I'm with my kids. Like, hey, let's go make a dumb movie, and they're like, no, get away, Dad. But like y'all did it, and that's awesome, and it's great, and it's on Amazon. I mean, it's so. Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, so it was such a fun experience. We had made movies before as a family, but we'd never made a horror movie before. So this is something totally new and we'd never done it before. So it was just totally experimental and I think it turned out really well. And it really influenced us to make more horror movies. It was just so much fun and a great run.
But then within the movie, Zelda, you narrate a lot of the film. And I noticed that within the narration, your tone had to be kept at a certain level, and your acting had to be at a certain level within the narration, right? Because this is a person who's on a mission, so to speak. And so when you guys did the audio of the movie, when you and your dad sat down to do the recordings, how long did that take to get that tone just right?
There's quite a bit of narrative to get us through the story. So we had to sit down for a while, and I remember it took a while to figure out what we wanted my tone to be, because I think at first I was a bit more hyper and not so depressed, it sounds like. So it took a while to get that really calm tone down, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I think what was fun about that was, so we started writing, we wanted it to sound biblical because it was taking place in the 60s. And so, a time when religion really played a big role in a lot of things. And so we wanted it to sound very biblical. And so we mixed real Bible verses with like kind of biblical verses that we made up that kind of worked for our story. And so when she first started reading them, we would put them up against the images as we edited, and we could quickly see that the tone needed to change. And so basically the tone found itself with the images. Does that make sense?
Well, I thought that when I was watching the film, I saw it like 4 or 5 times, and Nelson and I talked about it along with Chris and Noreen, and we went over the movie, and I kept on thinking about the narration, how it moves the movie, but the tone, that kind of sound of vengeance, but calm vengeance, is just so steady. And so I thought, wow, this narration never gets too high or too low. It stays at that same temperature all the way through, which is not simple to do, as I'm sure Zelda knows, because you're there being recorded. And you got to breathe, you got to read the words, and it's just so much work to do. And I thought, wow, this is really chilling the narration alone.
Yeah, I remember I would have to read a certain phrase and I would think I did it well, and John was like, one more time. It wasn't one more time, it was like 5 more times, but it's okay.
I say that a lot too. All right, this is like one more time. And one thing about a lot of narration. There's a lot, like one thing I really liked about the movie is like the lack of dialogue. There wasn't a lot of dialogue. It was narrated mostly. And what I wrote here is that most of the story was told by the cinematography. Is like the shots were beautiful, and to me a lot of the story was just told by your shot choices and the dolly shots, these nice big wide open, and the journey, like giving that journey look. And like acting is reacting, but when there's not dialogue, like I guess what I'm trying to get to is like how does it like writing a script with no like very little dialogue and then using your wide shots to tell a story? Was that intentional? Like, did you want to tell a story with a shot or just through the narrative? Tell me a little bit about those shots.
Yeah, that's such a great question. And the answer is that we wanted to make this movie be basically a poem, a really dark, hateful poem. And so because it was a poem, we didn't want a lot of dialogue to interfere with the narrative. we didn't want that those two to kind of interfere with each other. And I have to also say that we didn't really, with $2,000, you don't have the budget to like go out and hire like really wonderful actors who know how to deliver lines the way you want them to. But everybody, even your best friends, you can put an 1860s outfit on and ask them, don't act. And then the viewer looks at them, and the acting happens through the viewer's eyes, if that makes sense. So the less our actors talked and the less they acted, basically the more it helped drive our story, which was, loneliness and like cold and no emotions. Like, so in a way it was really to our advantage. Like, we did have some lines, the original kind of script had some lines, but almost all of them were taken out because it just seemed to interfere with the tone of the film.
Right. I want to show this clip real quick of some of the wide shots that we have. The white snow, one, Chris, would be great. Like this right here, this shot right here. So one thing looking at this was one take, right? Because I mean, the snow is pristine and beautiful, and you see these footsteps. Like, how many times? I mean, I guess everything you did had to be one take, correct?
Correct, because you didn't want to see, because we wanted that total virgin snow everywhere. So it was kind of like, whether we had the actors or whether it was me and Zelda, all the conversations were, look, let's talk about this so that when it's done, because we'll have to go find a whole new location because we can't walk over our footsteps.
This right here really caught my eye. So like the fact that you didn't use any lighting and still got great shadows like that. I mean, like you prepped for that shot big time, because single steps, great shadow length of the people, and then it cuts into the next scene again, white snow with the footsteps again, great shadow light. How did y'all wait till the sun was down? How did y'all create that shadow with no lighting?
I don't know if you remember this, but this was Zelda's idea, this shot. So what happened was,
great choice.
Shooting, yeah, we were, I don't know do you remember what happened?
Well, I remember I wanted to get a shot from above, but it was a while ago, so I don't remember the exact details.
Well, what happened was we had shot a scene that had a shed in it where the young girl and her kind of ghost go towards a shed. And we noticed the shadows there. And we were like, oh, that looks really cool. And then Zelda looked at all the footage and she was like, ooh, we should, shoot a whole scene from a ladder where basically we concentrate on those shadows. And it was a great idea. And we have a field that I'm actually looking at right now. And the only thing we had to do was just wait for the sun to be low in the sky. And we went and we grabbed those with a big orange painter's ladder. Amazing. And we had to kind of jam the tripod into the ladder in a certain way because obviously there was no one there filming for us. So that was Zelda's idea, and it was a wonderful. It became our poster.
Yeah, no, I love that shot because I'm like, man, how difficult was that? So clean, pristine snow. Like, you try it once, it doesn't work. You got to wait a couple hours if it's still snowing or change your shot. But yeah, no, it was awesome. Great execution.
You do believe in our Lord, do you not?
You talk about the actors, but then
I believe in the Lord.
Zelda and that man who plays the judge and juror, right? Had a lot of intense scenes. And you have them across the table, and she's narrating and talking to this man. Nelson was pointing out the name of the cast, the characters, which again, Nelson said, "Have you seen the name of the actors?" I said, "No," and he explained. So, Nelson, you want to touch on those characters, please?
Yeah. So, because I was putting in my notes, I was like, John and Zelda are walking in the snow. I was like, no, it's not John and Zelda. What were their characters? I was like, you know what? I don't know what their characters' names were. So I wanted to go look it up in IMDb, and I'm like, oh, hatred, vengeance, and then I was like, oh, so I'm trying to guess who these, because there's no pictures of the actors, because now I know why, because they're your friends and stuff. But I'm like, we're trying to figure out, like, well, which one was Gluttony, which one was with Judgment, who is this? So it was a fun little, like, oh, like great like again, great choices, you know, of putting this story together. You know, because I was telling him, I was like looking at the names and then saying I've seen the devil. So when she says she's seen the devil, all of those characters are, you know, is, you know, the seven deadly sins and then some emotions that I go, well, she's saying there, like all those people are the devil, like all those people together is the devil, and that's what she's saying. That was my interpretation of why maybe that was that way. What was the reason of doing it?
Yeah, I mean, you're right on the money. That's you just said it. So I wouldn't say it twice because you said it well.
What kind of cameras were those that you used?
Yeah.
So we use 5Ds. They're all 5Ds, and we use Sennheiser mics. So we have two Sennheiser mics, and you know, zooms, which I think I have one around here. And yeah, they're all just Canon 5Ds.
The biblical references and the whispering. You had a lot of whispering in that film, and I put the captions on so I could hear what the character was saying when Zelda was talking, and that alone was bone chilling what she was saying. So this screenplay, like, how did you guys figure out to write all these, you know, biblical passages and verses and kind of holier than thou writing? Where'd you guys get that from?
Well, that was, you know, I was a religion major, like I was a comparative religion major in college. So I've always loved the poetry of all the religions, you know, and, but this was all basically taken from, you know, just researching in the Bible, vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
So all passages, it's all basically just researching biblical passages about vengeance, and, you know, in the Old Testament and the New Testament. And then, like I said, I would add some more verses that I made up that kind of like filled out the actual biblical verses. You know, things like there'll be no mercy for the merciless. Like that's just fun. It's just true. You know, it's so you know, we filled it out. It was really fun. Basically, it was like a couple months of sitting around writing a big dark poem. You know.
Well, it had an Edgar Allan Poe feel to it, kind of macabre poem. And so when I was yeah, so you know, I felt like I was reading The Raven, right, or The House of Usher.
Yeah, I mean, I think of it more. I guess I don't think of it as a horror film. I think of it as a brutal poem, as a dark poem, you know. And it's I am a fan of horror, though. So I'm glad that the horror community really picked up on it and really accepted it, and it really changed our family filmmaking. The hatred changed a lot of things for us, because now, you know, we made another horror movie after this, and this one included my wife Toby, and that one really took off, and it's changed our whole family career. But the hatred was the birth of it.
It's amazing to hear. Yeah. So another thing that I liked about the movie is the way your audio, the sound design. Is that something y'all did as well? Did you put the sound design together? Because the reason I say that is because when the movie starts off, it starts off with that metal, hard rocking, when I first heard it, I was like, whoa, I was a little taken back because it didn't fit what I was thinking in my mind. And right away, I'm thinking, oh, is this movie going to be filmed with those weird music thing, you know, with a weird soundtrack? And that's the only time I felt like you used it. After that, it was more sound design of, you know, which really helped again drive those cinematic shots and story. Why start off with something so hard and then not go back to it?
You know, that is a great question. And the answer to me is that I wanted people to see like that music with that opening kind of thing. This is going to sound possibly odd, but it kind of it calls the viewers that shouldn't continue. And it says a specific type of viewer should continue watching this movie. I know that might sound, does that sound weird? I don't know.
It doesn't sound weird. It doesn't sound weird because I almost stopped watching it.
Right.
I mean, so you know, but I didn't. But I didn't. But because again, like maybe if it happened like 3 more times, I'd have been like, okay, I'm done. I can't do this. You know, but it only happened that once.
You know, I think all of our films do this. Every film that we've ever done, we always open up with something it's either visual or musically or conceptually a little jarring. And I think I don't know that we sit around and think about, well, why do we do that? I think the reason though is to try to say, this is going to be a little different. So if you don't like this, you probably shouldn't continue. And, you know, in this case, in The Hatred, we opened up with a bang, you know, just kind of like we wanted to get the furiousness and the chaos and the madness, like just kind of put it out there right in the beginning. And then, like you say, then we wanted to, you know, as soon as that was over, that chaos of that opening shredding, you know, we wanted to then tell a story. But, you know, that story isn't a classic horror. It's not the classic way to do it. And we knew that. And so I guess, you know, back to the original answer is, I think we're trying to get people to, I don't know, like, here, if you're going to walk through this, walk through it, you know, and then you're going to get something that's a little different. And hopefully, it's a great point that you're making. I don't know, maybe we turned off a lot of people with the opening thing, but I stick by it. I really enjoy the opening.
I mean, when I first saw it, I remember I wasn't a fan, but then I started thinking about it, and I remember thinking horror is about like making people uncomfortable and giving what's unexpected, and I think that definitely evoked that reaction. So I liked it.
Nelson tells me, I asked him, what's the running time in this movie? And he says 57 minutes. And I was like, what? I said, it's 90 minutes. He goes, no, it's 57. I go, no, it's 90. He goes, no. And he showed me. And I was taken aback because it feels like such a long film because of those, you hold the camera, right?
And it's not in a bad way at all, because my notes here say, you know, you told a lot of story in a short amount of time, and that, you know, you did a great job of doing that.
Yeah, it was fun. And we love the silence, you know. Again, it's kind of like, it doesn't please everybody, but it really pleases us. You know what I mean? Like, we really enjoy making those kind of movies. And, you know.
Yeah, and instead of the characters actually having dialogue and telling you what's it about, I think it makes you have to think about what it's about. Yeah.
Hey, so I got a question about the script, because I'm just so taken by the screenplay. Can we roll that clip about of weak men? Can we play that clip, please, Chris?
Mm-hmm. I like this one.
Before your men discovered our home, they had been lost for days. They sent a man to ask us for food and supplies, and we gave what we could. But they weren't satisfied. When strong men face catastrophe, they band together. They strengthen their union for survival. Weak men sow division.
This is all they can spare.
Yeah, so, okay, who wrote that scene?
I wrote that scene, and basically, so a lot of the reason this movie was born was because we had just gone through the last presidential election, and there was so much kind of hatred and division, and, like, you know, on both sides of every, you know, there was just so much tension in America. And so this was a way that I could express that tension in art. And so that's why it's called The Hatred, you know, is a little bit, it's about hatred. And so that scene right there, I don't, you know, if you notice, there's a vote. They said, hey, let's vote. And then there's a lot of symbolism and metaphors in that scene about the election process and about the division in America. And so that's what that is about. And it was my take on, hey, we could all get together, or we could all, untied we, fall, or united we stand. So that's kind of the answer.
But it's just it's really just a good creepy horror film. It's like I said earlier, it's a thinking horror.
I like to say it's supernatural.
Supernatural.
Not necessarily horror.
Well, okay, that's good. Now, 'cause Nelson and I were discussing, like, okay, well, who's dead, who's alive, who came back alive? And that was good because it kept you wondering, okay, who's dead in this movie? Is that a ghost?
Right.
Yeah, because we started talking about that. Exactly.
So what's going on?
That's what was so fun. I think sometimes we didn't know who.
Is that what the top hat signified? Right.
We should have got our top hats, right?
Yeah. I can go downstairs and get.
So I mean, what signifies? So like again, we're like looking into that, like as the top hats. Does that make them the spirits or the devils? I felt like Zelda was not dead. David and I were talking about it. I was like, well, no, she's about to, and then he, John Law comes back to life, and I'm like, well, maybe the hats are signifying evil. I don't know. So I mean, tell me about the choice about using the top hats.
Do you know why we use the top hats?
I thought that they just looked good.
There you go.
I'm with her. They just look so damn good. We were out in South Dakota, and we were in South Dakota, and we were Zelda and I were talking about making this movie because we needed to talk the movie through for a while, and we had talked a lot about it. And so we were in South Dakota, and we walked into this old store, and we saw these beautiful top hats, and I was like, try one of these top hats on, and she put it on, and I was like, that's it. We're doing that. That is so cool. So it is what she said. The top hats are just cool. Like you look right now.
They are. I love my top hat. I love it.
Yeah, I know.
I wear it sometimes.
We're gonna have to bring back top hats. It's great.
I'm already trying. The reviews aren't giving y'all justice. I think y'all have made a great movie, and considering how y'all made it, bravo. Like it is exceptional that y'all did this, both y'all yourselves. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. I mean, it's so nice of you guys to invite us on and talk about our movie and to watch our movie and to care, because it was really fun to make. And it's nice to see, people like you guys hearing what we're saying and seeing what we're saying. It's that makes this all worth it and so fun. And so we can't thank you enough for inviting us on to talk about our movie.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zelda.
Yeah, thank you, John. Thank you,
you.
Zelda. Again, unintended consequences of the top hat. It looked cool, and I'm like, oh, I'm reading into it. Just finding something cool, and just again, thank you. Y'all made an amazing movie. Break a leg on your future endeavors, and I can't wait to show this to people. It's gonna be awesome. I hope more eyes get on this movie because it truly deserves it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much. I mean, we really do appreciate it. It's super nice of you. And it's great to meet both of you.